Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello, and welcome to episode 148 of Mythos Busters. I'm Sean, and as with last time, as is our wont with these monthly recordings, we've got the same crew as 147, so we've got Ian. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
I wasn't sure which of you had more of their in-between episode snack left in their mouths, so I took a gamble.
It paid off. I'm free and clear at the moment, at least. But no promises for a minute from now.
Duly noted. And we also have Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hi. I actually pulled a veggie straw out of my mouth as you started talking. So there you go. You guessed correctly.
Well done, well done.
I'd just put it in I probably shouldn't eat this right now.
Well, we've got a fun episode for you guys tonight. We're going to get caught up on our normal intros. We've got an email with a couple thoughts on Taboo. And then we're going to have just kind of a nice, light discussion topic tonight where we're going to be talking about theme from a very specific point of view. And then, of course, we'll round it out with some tentacle time. But before we get to any of that, I will remind everyone that we do record monthly and we record live in our Discord chat. We're really late tonight, but we've got some wonderful peoples with us on this Friday night. So if you ever have an interest in attending one of said recordings, please do. Our Discord is open to anyone, so you can find it on Discord under Mythos Busters. And all right, so let's hop into our messages. So I guess I'll just remind, as I do at the top, that if you have a comment, a question, want to call out something we said, something we didn't say, suggest a topic of discussion, any of the above, or just say hey, like any reason really, you can call into the Mythos Busters hotline at 203-493-6984. That's 203-493-MYTH, and leave us your thought. If leaving a message gives you pause in 2023, and why wouldn't it? If that's not your thing, always feel free to send us an email, or you can just send in a pre-edited, completely non-threatening recording to the email, and that's mythosbusterspod@gmail.com, and we'll play it like it's a voicemail. No one will know the difference. It's pretty great. All right, wonderful. So we've got a message from one David J that I'll read here. Hey, Mythos Busters, longtime listener on a slow delay, and was just listening to your episode covering the year in review and wanted to toss two propositions at you around the taboo list. First, the Mandy taboo, I believe, is wrong. It should have been 40 cards. She was super strong, and it nerfs her no doubt, but it also locks her into one playstyle, where before you could use her as a fancy support, helping others search, or to find a key card or pendant deck or big hand. Or to find a key card or a pendant deck or a big hand. Now she's just include research cards and grab bag. Fine, but very limited. Second, I think a taboo may come for customizable friends in low places. And in this moment, I'm going to ask someone to read Friends in Low Places so that I can follow along with the rest of this message.
So it is a rogue event, level 0, cost 0. Test icons are intellect and agility, favor traded. Customizable. When you purchase Friends in Low Places, choose and record a trait on its upgrade sheet. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. For each looked at card with the chosen trait, you may spend 1 resource to add that card to your hand. Shuffle the rest back in your deck. And on the back, you've got a chosen trait, and there's a blank.
Okay.
1 tick, helpful. When you find Friends in Low Places, you may choose another investigator at your location to resolve its effects. 2 ticks is versatile. Choose another trait with a blank. When you play Friends in Low Places, you may choose one of the looked at cards with both the chosen traits to add to your hand without spending 1 resource. 2 ticks for bolstering. Each card added to your hand by Friends in Low Places gains a wild icon until the end of the phase. 2 ticks clever. Instead of shuffling the remaining cards into your deck, you may place them on the top of your deck in any order. Another 2 is prompt. Friends in Low Places gains fast and play during a Zappy Boy window. 3 ticks is experienced. Increase the number of cards looked at by 3, so you dig 9 deep. And the last one is another 3. Swift. You may play one of these cards added to your hand, paying its cost.
Whew. Boy, customizable cards are their own adventure nowadays.
It's a complicated one.
Okay, so a taboo might be coming for friends in low places, specifically with clever and prompt. So makes it fast and
then you put the cards back on top of your deck in any order.
you scry your deck. Okay, fair enough. And experienced if you're a rogue. It's so powerful. To orchestrate your next 6 cards fast is at least as good as pre-taboo Rook. Just crazy powerful. Thanks for all the great discussion. Always fun to listen to. Best, David. Okay, so first to Mandy. Thoughts on the Mandy taboo? I know we talked about it a bit when it first came out, but do you think that 50 was the right answer? Like 50 full stop?
I think it fits with her as an investigator. Like as a theme wise. I kind of like the idea of it just being 50. I would have preferred if it was 40 or 50 because 40 can be a little bit more lean, but I think you're still running into those, I don't know, someone's going to find, 40 good cards. But 50 puts it at there's some variability and you have to search, which is kind of her shtick. It does kind of typecast her a bit though. Like he said.
I think that's kind of the main complaint is that you've now got one style of Mandy if you're playing taboo.
Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with because, if the Arkham universe were mine to make, the guiding principle that I would have for both encounter cards and player card design would be like, a healthy meta is one where the widest variety of decks and investigators are viable and fun and stand a decent chance of winning. So don't necessarily love that it pushes her down that path. And also I just have terrible luck when it comes to drawing key cards. So if I play a 50 card Mandy deck, 10, the bottom 10 cards are going to be all my search cards. And it's just going to be a miserable experience. So, that's just me. But I have recently become a taboo apostate. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ian, round us out.
It's a little tough because it's actually been a while since I played Mandy. So I don't feel enough informed. And when I played Mandy, I tended to be on the more svelte end rather than the thick Mandy. So I don't think I've tried it at 50, but I think it may be one of those things we have seen where they'll kind of go to an extreme taboo and then pull it back a little bit. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if maybe at some point they try it out at 40 and pull back a little bit. I think I'm okay with it at 50 because just the way Mandy works is a little bit more prone to exploits than a lot of other investigators. Just whenever you're dealing with investigators that can search and dig and do those type of effects. But then I'm kind of torn because I also tend to I tend to, if I have to lean one way or another, I tend to lean more towards the more permissive side of a taboo, the one that's going to let more fun stuff happen. Yeah, that's where my conflict comes from. It could be fine at 40. I don't know.
I've been looking through my Mandy decks on Arkham DB, and I'm pretty sure, yep, that's another 40. I'm pretty sure I've run Mandy at 40 every time I've built her. I logically recognize that 30-card Mandy is going to be most consistent and efficient, but I think I've got one last one to check here. Oh, no, this one's literally called Thick Mandy for Justin, so I'm pretty sure this is a 50-card deck. Yeah, all right. Well, all right, all but one. All but one were 40 cards anyway. Yeah, It's it's tough, isn't it? Because she just pulled together so many. I mean, okay, so Scott, I think you're the one who said this before. When you've got a problem combo, you ideally want to nerf the problem, right?
Yeah.
And do you think that Mandy was? Yeah, sure. Okay, so
Yeah.
do you think Mandy was the right thing to nerf for whatever power problem she was presenting?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, Rogue Mandy. There were some Rogue Mandy decks that were just absolutely busted. There was one, and I forget the streamer. Was it Cadentia? I'm not sure, but basically he demonstrated with a Mandy deck that was like 29 XP or something. It was 30 cards with a Rogue Splash. He was going through Depths of Yoth, and it was 1 level per turn, and it was like,
damn,
it was like 9 rounds in, and he was starting, 10 rounds in. He was starting round 10, and he's just like, and he was on level 10, and he's like, because he was doing like a how low you can go, and he's like, I'm just getting bored at this point, because it was just playing through the cards, like, it's like, that's what 30 card Mandy can do. You can thin down and get this cycle of cards going, and there was just those opportunities for abuse there, and that's what the taboo is meant to do, to remove those possibilities.
But what
of
like
abuse.
what was the combination of cards that was moving a solo seeker through no problem? Like,
so
pendant, I assume.
Pendant, which got tabooed.
Thank God.
Yeah, there was shortcuts, and there was also cryptic. What's the draw 3 cards fast?
Oh yeah, cryptic studies, cryptic research.
Anyways, he had a bunch of cards out, and then you also had what were the three aces? It's like just all this card draw. So there's shortcuts and working a hunch and crack the
quick
case.
thinking, probably, if you're going rogue.
Quick thinking, yeah. Like, and it was just got down to like a 10 or 12 card deck and just cycled, and just grabbed clues, and
I mean, Rogue Mandy is best Mandy, right?
yeah. And the thing is too, for his actual actions he took, he could just investigate.
Yeah, right.
Right, to get the clue. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, and he had Disc of Zomna, so if he draws an enemy, discards that, gets rid of the enemy, and then eventually gets the disc out later that turn because he looped his deck for the next round. So,
cool.
yeah. It was very interesting to see. Like, I love watching that stuff and be like, wow, and like maybe trying it once, but then I'm like, cool. Okay, I'm gonna put that over there. But
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Is like, it's interesting. I could 100% respect the craft of min-maxing to that level, but I kind of wish the game didn't get balanced around those possibilities. Just
well, I don't think the game doesn't get balanced.
No, sorry,
around it. It gets tabooed.
The taboo doesn't get geared toward that. But I mean, like, the taboo is like post-release patch balance, right?
I guess.
Like, they do their best prior to release. Yeah, they can't do everything.
Yeah,
but it's fine. Not everyone is the top tier of player, so
No, absolutely.
I don't like seeing the casuals get left in the dust, but it's fine. Again, you can ignore taboo. It's I know it's weird. It's a recent revelation I've had. me the heretic. Okay. So then moving on from there. Okay, so speaking about taboo, well, okay, I suppose that was the entire thrust of the email. But yeah, friends in low places. Do you guys think that's busted to the point that it might get a hit? That doesn't seem crazy to me. Like, it seems really good with those upgrades, but it kind of also seems like exactly what it's supposed to do with those upgrades.
Essentially be a 2 XP, a level 2 card that scries 6 to 9 cards, and you can draw a couple of them.
And what was the other one? Prompt, and that it's fast. So prompt makes it fast.
But you have to pay a resource for each of those cards.
That's true.
Like, that's
unless you go versatile.
Yeah.
No, but that's only one of the looked at cards. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has to have both traits.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, that's I feel like,
I think it's wrangled in.
Honestly, like, the way versatile is worded right now feels like a taboo nerf. So it's already there.
Yeah, this one, like, I kind of agree with the Mandy thing. I could see it going to 40 or 50, or being the option of 40 or 50, not just necessarily saying it's 40. This one, I don't know. I don't think we're going to see a taboo.
Although he sold it hard enough that I'm definitely going to include this in the next rogue deck that I make.
Yeah, same.
I've yet to play this, so now I'm interested.
Yeah, this is one that I've looked at a couple times, obviously at Bing and Rogue, and I'm like, oh, neat. But there are some cards that it doesn't fully like register with me what it does until you went over this message, and then I was like, huh. That is pretty powerful. Like, you do have to spend resources, but you can build some crazy resource engines in Rogue these days. So again, this might be one of those ones where it's like, for most players and investigators, it's fine. It's appropriately balanced. I could see someone build some crazy like resource engine Rogue deck where you can just like, and you also like build your deck around whatever traits you're going for. So like tightly building, where it lets you like pull in a lot of cards and maybe facilitates those kind of like cycle style of decks, which I feel like every time someone has quote unquote broken the game, it's a cycle thing. Like maybe all of them are. They're all based
like
around
most of them
cycling
are
your
deck
deck,
loops.
basically. Yeah.
Yep.
So this just seems to me like, to the extent it would be that, it's just because it enables that kind of thing. But on the surface, it seems fine to me. I'm sure if you built specifically around it, you probably could like build one of those loopy type decks.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll give it a try. I'll try and break it. Gladly.
you put a big ass target sign on this thing now. Excellent. Well, thank you, David, for writing in. We appreciate your thoughts, and that was good stuff to think about. Especially like if anyone else wants to write in about new cards that I haven't had like a second to try yet, I enjoy that very muchly. All right. Well, let's move on. We got Ian. Any patron stuff? Dissonant Voices continues.
I don't believe so. I think we covered it appropriately on the last episode, other than just another reminder that if we forgot a job title that you're owed, or swag that you're owed, just hit us up, leave us a message, contact us somehow, carrier pigeon, and let us know, and we will rectify that situation.
Excellent. Scott, any news?
Nope.
Wonderful. BusterCon reminder, June 1st through June 4th, Roseville, Minnesota, hotel block at the Doubletree in Roseville.
Yeah, if you just call and mention BusterCon. Also, we have two types of rooms. We have breakfast and no breakfast, so your choice.
But what about second breakfast?
I'm sure if you just went down again, I'm sure they wouldn't stop you. So yes, second
That
breakfast.
works for me.
But don't tell them I told you that.
Well, we've had one, yes. All right, boys, let's get into our main Tupac. We took forever last episode. We're just going to crack right into it in this one. Okay, so we're going to play a little... It's not a game. It's like a framed discussion called THEMURDER. We're dusting off an old segment. If there's anyone out there who used to listen to Cardboard of the Rings, it was a segment that kind of came up where we just started talking about theme on player cards. So each of us has chosen a handful of Arkham cards, not just player cards, of Arkham cards that we enjoy, the way the theme comes through, and we're going to talk about those. And then in addition, we've each chosen a handful of cards where the theme doesn't land quite as well, or confuses us in some way. And the murdering comes in if anyone else can explain the theme. Then you get to the murder. Yeah, that's all it is. Played it off like it was a game, but you just get to the murder.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Does anyone want to start?
I can start.
Do it.
So, for a thematic card that I think murdered it, fire extinguisher.
Nope, that's not what the murdering is.
Oh, sorry. This is the theming one, the good one. Theme win. The fire extinguisher, because you can hit someone over the head with it, or you can spray it all around and get away from people. I thought it was perfect. The only thing it didn't do well was in Carcosa. You couldn't put out the actual burning building.
That's right.
But also,
It
a
doesn't
fire
actually interact with fire treacherous.
a fire extinguisher can't also put out a burning building. So
I mean, that's
theme
fair.
win. There you go.
So should we get in the habit of like reading the cards that we're talking about? Probably. Just in case people are not familiar with the cards as we very cool kids are.
So fire extinguisher is I mean, we can also like condense it, right?
Sure.
Like to what? Okay. So fire extinguisher, it's a survivor asset, and it has two actions. One, you can fight, and you just get +1 attack for this. No extra damage, but just you can just hit someone with it. The upgraded one though, with the stronger walls, you actually do extra damage. And then the second action is discard fire extinguisher. You automatically evade all the enemies engaged with you, and you can exile it instead to discard each non-elite enemy evaded by this effect. So you can just like spray it and just get out of dodge.
I think you left out fire extinguisher's most thematic feature, which is that I always forget to buy one.
Yeah. Nailed it. Yep.
Now, in terms of flavor for the evade, do you think it's like spraying it in the enemy's face to cover your tracks? Or is it like you sit down on a chair and you use the fire extinguisher to propel yourself backwards on the chair?
Well, I mean,
You paused after you sat down on the chair, and I'm like, yeah, and then...
Use your rolly office chair to...
Yes, exactly.
I'm thinking it's more like you fill the room, and you're like shooting it behind you and stuff. Yeah, that's where the theme lands for me, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yep.
I almost wonder, like, would it be more thematic if it had uses? Because the discard isn't quite like you spray it in the face. I mean, I guess you might, like, empty it.
Once you start a fire extinguisher, it doesn't really stop. Like,
that's fair.
Yeah. The chemical reactions go in.
Used.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
THEMURDER. I tried to swoop in, but you got me. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a classic, too.
Yeah.
And like, even more thematic with the level 1 version had exile, not just discard.
You had to yeet it.
Straight out of your deck. All right, Ian, what's one of your good ones?
Mine's a oldie but a goodie, and this is a old baseball bat. Back to the core set, although there's an upgraded version now. Baseball bat, essentially, it's a weapon. You fight, you get the good old combat boost and damage boost. But if you draw a skull or auto fail, then you have to discard the baseball bat. So, yeah, it's pretty simple, but it just nails that, like, this is a great weapon, but, the baseball bat, as it does in movies, is going to eventually break on you at an opportune moment. So, I enjoy the flavor of the baseball bat.
And it set such a good precedent for, like, Survivor does everything just kind of shittier. And I don't mean shittier as like less effective.
Yeah.
I mean shittier in like a slightly decrepit way, or in a lower rent way, I guess would be probably the better way to put it.
Yes, I would agree with that. But sometimes shittier also.
But also sometimes just straight shittier.
Depends on the quality of the bat.
Yeah, that's a classic. And like, I do appreciate that they changed the art in the upgraded, the revised core too. Like, zombie Granny wasn't doing it for me in the original.
Yeah, that was art. That was a piece of art that happened.
Although now I'm looking at the revised art, that baseball bat looks a little small. Is that just me? Is it like the Little League version?
Yes! Absolutely it is.
There we go.
It's just the cork core.
Yes. Fair enough.
All right, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. So, like, when we decided that we were going to do this one, I have had this card banked in the back of my head since like the first time we thought we might do THEMURDER. It was one of my favorite little bits of theme in this game, and it is it is a location from the depths of Yoth, and it is Crumbling Precipice.
Yes.
Yeah. So Crumbling Precipice is forced when you attempt to explore while at Crumbling Precipice. Test Willpower 4. If you fail, test Agility 3. If you fail, test Combat 2. If you fail, you fall to your death and are killed. Like, and then the flavor text is just one false step, but there is so much theme in that game text.
Yep.
Like, it tells a story. Like, that first willpower test is the willpower, just don't look down. Don't look down. Don't look down. It is like 4. Like, most people are going to look down. Like, you've seen the scene in the movie. Every asshole is going to look down and have that moment where the camera goes on, like, a weird, distorted Dutch angle. Like, it's just going to happen. And then if you look down and you start to fall, you get to test agility to try to keep yourself up. And if you fail that, you get to test combat to try to catch yourself and pull your ass back up. And if like, and the fact that the tentacle just almost always seems to show up for at least one of these tests. And hopefully it's not the last one.
It always shows up. Yeah.
Like, it's so tense. It's so perfect. It is an entire movie scene in and of itself. I love Crumbling Precipice.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
All right, Scott. What was a fail for you? What was one that didn't quite land?
Oh boy. Well, this one doesn't land because of so many cards that came after it.
Okay.
Like, as a single card, it actually kind of works. But there's just so many examples of how it doesn't work. That's locked doors. Lockpicks. So it's an encounter card. And basically you can't investigate this location. But you can test 4 agility or 4 strength to break the locks. I believe. That's all from memory. But you can't use lockpicks. Can't use a fire axe. There was one in the last episode too.
You can't break down the door.
Breach the door. Yeah.
Breach the door.
Breach the door.
Yeah, you can't use dynamite. You can't use grenades. Yeah, there's just a lot of things that thieving tools. I'm sure they could probably get through a locked door. Skeleton key, perhaps, might get into a locked door. Yeah, so gonna go with locked door.
Yeah, that was a good one. I was kind of thinking about this one last episode, knowing this was coming up, and thinking, like, I should have put locked door on the list because
Oh man,
all those interactions. I will attempt a little bit of the murdering here, because especially with these like core set cards, after a while I stop looking at the art in depth. But now that I'm looking at the art for locked door, it's not just like a simple locked door. There are like 3 sets of chains, like 2 padlocks I can see, a deadbolt, and the door itself looks like it's some like heavy iron construction. So maybe the reason lockpicks and these other things don't work is because this is not like your standard locked door. This is like Fort Knox, like trying to get in there.
But then why can you just test 4 strength? But a fire axe can't get through it. Or lockpicks can't get through it.
True.
Especially the lockpicks, you know?
yeah.
You can't use actual lockpicks, but you could test agility to just pick the lock somehow.
Yeah. Just with your bare hands? Like,
Yes.
Okay, I was so ready to try to murder you, Scott, but I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah.
However,
yes.
I will try to murder you via analogy.
Okay.
You know how you guys have both played RPGs, a decent amount. You know how like sometimes you'll hit up against an obstacle and like you think of a very clear solution and like the DM is just silent for a minute because there's like a very clear and specific way they wanted you to deal with it. That's this card.
Okay. So this card is basically railroad tracks.
Yes.
DM railroad tracks. Gotcha. Okay.
Wonderful. Ian, what's one that didn't land for you?
Yeah, there's a few. I feel like all of these on my list aren't necessarily bad theme, but more like I'm just like, huh? Like I'm hoping you guys can help me crack the case. This is not crack the case, but you can help me figure out the theme behind some of these cards. The first one is Greta Wagner, the Purifier. After you defeat an enemy, you exhaust and deal damage to her, and you discover one clue at your location. I am wondering where this clue is coming from. Like, she's the Purifier. Okay, like, Purifier is like someone who's killing monsters, presumably, and a hunter. So maybe that's where the clue is kind of coming in from, this hunting aspect. But I'm just not sure exactly what Greta is doing to, like, deal damage to herself to get a clue.
This one's easy. I got you.
Hit me. Hit me.
Especially because you're like an old Lord of the Rings frog like I am. You remember Corset Legolas?
I do.
Basically the same thing. Like it's not about where it comes from. It's the fact that in killing the enemy, she's able to like examine the body and discern something valuable from it. She like, you know, pulls a claw off, or like, oh wow, this thing walked in mud earlier, as monsters do. But there's something about the kill. I mean, the damage I think is just purely like a limited use thing. But yeah, the clue is she's able to tell something from the body.
It's just that like organ reading thing from the ancient Greeks. It's the type of fortune telling.
Oh, really now?
Yeah, they used to like sacrifice goats and like spread out the organs, and based on the shape and position of the organs, it would tell you things.
With iron and with salt.
But I think the actual the theme also is that we just needed that mechanic in an ally. It's just
That's
I
not
need the
a
theme.
theme, Scott.
Guardian
I'm just
just
thinking
needed
of the other thing.
Guardian just needed a way to get a clue.
It's weird because she's like the Purifier, and like the flavor text gives you this sense of like just wiping monsters off the face of the earth. But then you have this like hunter aspect from the trait, and like the Legolas analogy. Oh no, I think we might need a Greta Wagner backstory at some point.
I think I agree with you. So I was able to explain like mechanically and what she's doing, and I'm satisfied with that personally. Thank you. But I completely agree with you that the character as she appears in the art and kind of the flavor that the subtitle and the flavor text would give you doesn't necessarily gel with what mechanically the card is doing. 100%. All right, one of mine.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna keep it in the same campaign. I think this card is one of those cards that just kind of exists because the mechanic at play needed a thing that did this. But I'd be interested if you guys think differently. So this is Ancestral Fear from TFA. So it's a treachery, peril, and surge. Crime. Revelation, you must either choose one, place one doom on your location and discard Ancestral Fear, or place Ancestral Fear in the victory display and it has a vengeance point. So I've never really understood what this is. Like, Ancestral Fear, why does it give you vengeance?
Well,
I can like is it do it, baby.
You may remember a little campaign called The Circle Undone, where you have to choose to accept or reject your fate. You'll see in the artwork there are cave markings with little people fighting serpents. This is the ancestral...
Or a Cthulhu.
Yeah, or a Cthulhu. This is the ancestral fear, or the ancestral stories and whatnot. So either you go up to these things and you heed the fear, you heed the warning, but you notice that, like, you're aware of the doom, that the time is near, and you can put off the evil that is coming slightly. And that's the doom being placed. Or you can be like, nah, that's just a bunch of cavemen who didn't know what the hell was going on, and you've ignored the ancestral teachings and the warnings, and vengeance is coming for you because you ignored it by putting in the victory display.
Interesting.
Because you're no longer looking at it, right? Like if you discard it and get the doom, you're constantly looking at it. You're feeling doomed because you keep on checking the walls and keep on seeing it. But if you've looked at it a couple times and you put in the victory display, you're not going to look at it again. You're not heeding the warning.
Your argument's weakening the more you talk.
All right. I'll stop.
Scott, Jesus.
I rest my case then.
That's my cue.
Toodaloo.
All right, Ian, what say you to that?
This is a tough one. This is one of those ones when you're like designing something where you're totally like, I need this to just like key off the core mechanics of the scenario.
Like, that's it. It's like, I'm not calling this a bad card. I'm not even calling it a bad design.
This is just
It's
the
one of
point
those
what we're
things
doing. Yeah.
where it feels like this is just overly mechanical, and I don't quite understand. Like, I get what you're saying with the cave paintings, Scott.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just laughing at chat. You go, that's the most story I've ever heard from Scott. Let's get back to mechanics, guys.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to
Nailed
like
it.
if you put it in the victory display, you're getting more vengeance. So what are you doing exactly to make Yig more mad in this case that relates to ancestral fear?
Like, yeah, that's the vengeance point is like what gets me about it.
I think you're ignoring it. So you're getting it out of your way. Like, oh, I looked at these things, whatever. And you're dismissing the danger. And you're not being more aware.
So Yeeg was just the first incel and doesn't take kindly to being ignored.
Oh my
No.
gosh. Gonna look at the campaign in a whole new light now.
Yeah. I think it's more so it's if you're like, nah, Yig doesn't exist, then you're not going to see the signs of Yig coming for you. You know what I mean? You're ignoring the warning signs, the red flags, if you will.
All right.
The
Okay.
fedoras. I mean, what?
Oh my gosh. Now we're gonna have custom art of Yig with the fedora.
The metaphor's getting longer. I like it.
Can't wait.
All right, I'll accept my murdering.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, lay another one on us.
Okay, back to a good one. This is a Dunwich treachery that I feel just nailed the feeling of, like, this was I want to say, like, the titular encounter card of this scenario. From Blood on the Altar, Kidnapped. So if you haven't played Dunwich, you should play it. But anyways, spoiler alert. So Revelation, basically you test willpower or agility. So either you're aware and you can, like, oh, someone's trying to jump and grab us, or agility, you try and get away. If you fail, add an ally asset you control to the pool of potential sacrifices. And if you have no ally, you take damage because they got a hold of you, but you got away. So your ally literally gets kidnapped! ! It's
true.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful because we have kind of a similar treachery in Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the context of Blood on the Altar specifically, getting kidnapped means something.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's an ally you quite liked, particularly a unique one, it was our Iron Man where I kept getting the turn after I dropped my Diana Esperance, right?
Yep.
And I didn't have any willpower boosts out, so even as Agnes, I'm sitting there going like, "Oh no!"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's a terrifying treachery in that scenario.
Yeah. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Also, the art is just straight up a Bloodborne reference, and I am here for it.
The one thing I'm trying to figure out on this one, I love the theme of this card. I agree, it's a big theme win. Like the agility test, like I'm imagining he's reaching out to grab your ally and you're like swooping out of the way and swooping your ally out of the way. What is the willpower test doing there?
I think that's...
Are you loudly shouting in his face? No!
No,
think
it's
you're noticing before they get close.
yeah,
Like-
you're discerning the ambush.
Yeah.
It's a perception check, if you will.
There you go. Yeah.
It's such a good card. Like, that's like the card of that scenario, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's the titular card. I guess not titular, but not the
I mean,
title, but
It's tubular.
sure.
All right. Ian, what's your next one? And go in whatever order you want. We don't have to do like 3 goods and 3 bads. Like, just pick the
Sure.
one you want to talk about.
Okay, in that case, I'm gonna do another question mark for me, and I'll stay in. Most of my cards are player cards, but this is an encounter card. I'll stay in Dunwich. This is one of the most memorable Dunwich treacheries, and I kind of have a sense of what they were going for in terms of theme, but it's a little abstract, and I think it's mostly a mechanical thing. And this is our old friend Beyond the Veil. Put it in your threat area, and if your deck has no cards in it, you take 10 damage, which is usually, at the time it was designed, this was pretty much meant to be like a killer, pretty much.
Yeah, that's like an insta-kill without calling it an insta-kill.
Yeah. Nowadays it's a little more survivable, but still can hurt you. But, like, I know there's a mechanic throughout the whole campaign about, like, potentially like having cards discarded and running out of cards in your deck, and it's somehow tied to oh god, what's his face, Yogg-Sothoth. But what exactly, why are you taking 10 damage?
Why 10?
Why 10 specifically?
And why 10 damage? Why not 10 horror?
Yes, that's the thing. Like, I could see it if it's like, oh, your mind is like twisted by this glimpse into another reality, but then why is it physical damage instead of horror?
Okay, so like, is it kind of that Yogg-Sothoth like he's I don't know. The Gaper and the Keeper and the Gate. Wow, the Gaper. That was the thing.
Moving on.
All right,
Leave that one.
The Gate and the Key. Like, is it that it has been? Wow, I just can't get this thought out. Has been trying to like pull you through another dimension or another reality. Keeps trying at it, but that moment where your deck runs out is where your mind is like weakest or some shit, and like that's when it works. So it like rips your body apart as you like transcend dimensions. That's the best I got. I'm done.
That's not bad. I didn't consider like maybe it's actually physically pulling your body like beyond the veil to another dimension, and that's why it's damage.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure why it's tied to the number of cards. Like, because then we have to talk about what exactly do cards in your deck represent in the game.
Ooh, that's abstract. Yeah, no, I agree. The milling thing is just a mechanic. That's like super mechanical. Which, you know, like Beyond the Veil is possibly the most defining treachery in that entire campaign. So it's a little bit sad to see it be a little mechanic in that way.
Now I'm trying to murder myself. Like, are cards in your hand like what's available to you in the present, and cards in your deck is kind of like your future potential, like what lies for you in the future, and once your future potential has been completely taken from you, that's when you... I don't know. I'm stretching, but that's the only thing I can think of.
I like where your brain's going. I like the direction you're flexing in there. We Got the Skulls asks if all hex cards do damage specifically. Maybe that's why it's damaged. I don't know if that's true, but it would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I would level the same complaint, Ian, against Beyond the Veil that I did with Ancestral Fear. It's just like there needed to be a card that did this because this was the mechanic that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
What do you got, Sean?
Well, I'm gonna pick a slightly weird one, but this is another one that I'd like banked in the back of my head for when we ever did this one. And it is a basic weakness. Drawing the sign. So, Carcosa was fantastic on all fronts. But I particularly like drawing the sign as a basic weakness because it, as opposed to something like Amnesia, which just destroys your hand and then it's gone. This is like a persistent occupation. Right? It is a madness that stays in play until you enact to do something about it. And one of your hands is occupied, at least, drawing the sign. And this card reduces your hand size by 5. So all 5 of your fingers are occupied drawing the sign while this is in play. And I just like the picture is perfect and just like everything about the theme. The only thing I'd say is like, the double action to discard is kind of boring, but there's only so much room left on the card. So whatever, but what it does to your hand, which Ian, if you consider those to be like the ideas you have now, the options you have now, cuts it down by 5, drastically reduces it in most cases because your hand is occupied drawing the sign. Yeah, so I love drawing the sign a lot. Far better than Amnesia on all fronts.
Agreed. Hate Amnesia.
Not to mention you can't like drop those cards because your fingers are broken. Like even if you tried, you can't hold them. Because
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I kind of also like it because I always imagine like the drawing the sign is, it's a part of it's like occupying a part of your brain where you can't think about anything else. Like if you think about your brain as just a series of tabs in a browser window, like drawing the sign is like taking up a bunch of tabs just to look up sign related stuff.
Right. Sign, blink, blink.
That's what we call it in the old country.
That's right. All right, Scott, what you got?
Is it me? All right. For an awesome theme card, I actually had a lot of problem finding bad cards because so many cards in this game are so on theme.
Yeah.
This is actually a suite of cards from the Carcosa campaign, and it's the Whispers in Your Head cards. And those are the hidden cards that just go into your hand. They block stuff, and I can, the whole thing about the King in Yellow whispering into your ears and you like not being able to trust your own view of reality, unreliable narrator stuff. And so you have 4 of them, and there's Whispers in Your Head Dismay. So you don't think that you can pass any, or you don't think you can succeed, right? Just the situation is lost and you can't commit skill cards to skill tests. And then you have Dread. So you're really scared. You're dreading what's ahead of you. You can't move more than once per turn. You have the Anxiety one. I mean, you're super anxious and shaky. You can't commit fast things because you're frozen. You have to do it takes you a long time to do anything, so a full action. And then you have Whispers in Your Head Doubt, and you're just doubting your abilities, so you can't play events.
Oh, each one is so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
And they're like such important treacheries to that campaign too.
Yes,
both in flavor and in mechanics. They're in like every other scenario, if not more than that.
Yeah. And then by extension, there's also like the possessions in the last scenario, which is like to me the extended version of the Whispers.
Sure.
Yeah.
So completely tangential, but we're probably going to be running a short episode here.
My detector test determined that was a lie.
So, do you guys ever use the alternate stuff for Return to Carcosa, or do you prefer the original Hiddens?
I usually mix it up now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Honestly,
As
just to give
in-
it, like I mix them together and then just randomly put some in the deck, so I don't know what's coming.
Oh, sure. Okay,
Because
cool.
I've played Carcosa so much, right? Like that one I've beat to death, and I still love it. So anything that can kind of change it up and surprise me, it's a bonus for me.
Agree. Good talk.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, what's your next one?
I'll do a flavor win now since I've done a couple of questionable ones. This is one I'm sure we've talked about on a few occasions, but I feel like it has to be mentioned for THEMURDER. This is a treachery from Carcosa, and this is from Palinmass specifically, the shadow behind you. This is the one that goes
too.
This goes into your threat area. Is an action you can look behind you, but if at the end of your turn you didn't look behind you, then you have to discard all your resources or discard all cards in your hand, and then discard this treachery. I love this one just because of it's interesting because there's like some abstract elements of this card, like discarding resources or discarding all cards, but everything kind of works together to give you that sense that there's this thing looming behind you and having to decide whether you're going to look behind you or not.
That's what, like, this card is completely thematic on an emotional level.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not about
exactly.
explaining what discarding all your cards or all your resources is in the game. It is instilling that fear of something catastrophic, like, just on your heels. And it's perfect. And like I love when they include story text in with the mechanical text.
Agreed. Yeah.
And in this case, there is no mechanical text because it is entirely story text. You waste the action, you look behind you, you stave it off for a turn. Like, it's so good.
I
Love that card so much. And the art's perfect.
Yeah. God, that card, and it causes so much like planning around it, and it's such a well designed card for the theme.
Yeah,
Like just
like it puts you in that exact place of like cautious paranoia that you want out of Carcosa. All right. Well, seeing as how I have one fewer card on my list, Ian, great minds think
You're
alike, I
welcome.
guess.
That was also on my list, so yeah, thanks.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's low hanging fruit, but it's juicy. All right, I'm gonna pick on one, Ian. I'm pretty sure you're gonna murder me, and I would actually like to know. But I'm a little confused on the theme of Belly of the Beast. So this is a rogue event. 1 cost, fast, play after you successfully evade an enemy by 2 or more. Discover 1 clue at that enemy's location. And then in the art, there's like a cultist like cursing the hero who clearly has escaped from the bloody manacles in the background. So like it makes sense that this has something to do with an evade. Like what I'm getting from the art, that all makes sense, but I don't understand why we discover a clue. And also, I don't get the reference, the belly of the beast. Is that literally just talking about Jonah and the whale?
Yeah, I think what I get from this is it's a little abstract, but it's like I think the belly of the beast reference is like you've been face to face with the enemy. You've seen kind of what they're about. And in the case of this, the art example, it's like you were in their dungeon, so you probably overheard their secrets or whatever. But then you're essentially escaping through the evade and taking that knowledge with you.
THEMURDERED.
Okay.
I accept it.
I don't have to like it.
I know, no, I'm not a fan. Let's be clear. but I'll accept a good argument when I hear it. All right, Scott, what's your next one?
Okay, I'm gonna go with one that I'm not super good on the theme. Even though I like this card, the 35 Winchester. So it has 5 ammo, and you don't have to spend ammo to fight. That was the weird thing. No, just kidding. That was before.
Yeah.
But you
Pre-taboo.
now you spend an ammo to fight. You get +2 for this attack, and only if you draw a good sign do you do more damage. So you'll do damage no matter what. So the bullet hits. But if you get a +1, 0, or an elder sign, regardless of how much you pass by, that, like, it's the tokens that determine how much that bullet hits you and how much damage it does. What kind of bullet it was? Did you not know when it was in the gun? When you were loading it?
My best guess is it is just a comment on a lower caliber where, like, you're not, like, a 35 maybe, I don't even know if I believe this, but this is the argument, but maybe like a 35 caliber doesn't have the stopping power of a 45. It's no 22, but if you get a good shot, you can do a lot of damage.
But you can get a good shot with a -1 if you're shooting at like 12. It's not by how much you succeed. It's the token you pull.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That was a good counter.
Yeah. I
It
don't know
seems like it
enough
actually
about...
would be a good place for a succeed by effect, doesn't it?
I don't know enough about, like, firearm types to know what... like, was this just a mechanical thing, or were they keying off of something that's specific to the 35 Winchester? Like, because kind of what I get that it's going for is, like, it's an okay weapon, but if you happen to, like, hit it just right, then it does a lot of damage. But I was kind of, like, quickly trying to do a Google search on 35 Winchester to see if there's anything, like, specifically famous about that type of weapon but I couldn't really find anything that makes sense.
And even like Teacup was mentioning in chat, like a headshot or a weak point or sure, but I feel like I don't know, like you randomly hit a
Doesn't
weak
that
point?
apply to every gun?
Yeah, like why this gun? Why this one?
Yeah, its distinguishing feature is a little abstract.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's a fine card. It's a gun.
Yeah.
It shoots, and
It does with five ammo.
yeah. Oh, and it's also plus. Doesn't it, like, bless count or bless tokens count now too? Is that?
Yeah, it's a non-negative modifier.
Yeah.
Right? Is the taboo?
I believe so.
So bless works.
Yeah.
Does curse work if you use the covenant that turns it to a +1?
I would assume so. Oh. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
You're right. Oh, finally. All right. This is the best argument I've heard. It's a Hot Fuzz reference. It's the point in someone's head where if you shoot it, the head will explode.
Oh.
The gun itself is from Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, so I have to know.
He also says the dogs can't look up, so.
So I have to know something outside of Arkham to understand the theme of this card? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep, exactly. Exactly
Okay.
right.
Neat. Yeah.
What? MJ make a pop culture reference? Shut it.
All right.
All right, where are we at? Is it me or Ian?
I think Ian?
Ian, hit us.
Okay. This is another one I have a question on. Maybe this will be easy. Maybe this will be hard. And this is a player card going way back to the core set again. Everyone's favorite. But I'm kind of, when I was like reviewing cards, I was like, what is this doing exactly? And this is our friend DMC, Dr. Milan Christopher, professor of entomology. Gives you an intellect boost. That makes sense. I'm good with that. Reaction, after you investigate, you get a resource. Why is he giving you a resource for investigating? And how does that relate to him being a professor of entomology specifically?
Man. Boy, you are hitting seekers right in the groin with this one, Ian. Going for the.
Seekers.
Is it
Going
because of
straight for the genitals.
research grants? Maybe.
Could be.
But I agree with you. Like it's a pretty loose connection, if anything.
Okay, so if we abstract resources, it's not just money. It's like your ability and general wherewithal and possibly even physical resources to call forth action or assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Okay, there was no follow up to that. I just
I was
was
hoping
really
I would
with
think
you
of it by
there.
the time I was done, but you know. Okay, so is it just that like after you find information, because I'm like looking at his flavor text, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination. I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. Is it just that like Milan is like hype king number one and every little bit of success gets him just like completely wound up and like ready to do the next thing, and that is expressed in the form of a resource?
DMC's your hype man.
Cheerleader number one, baby.
Maybe like it would make sense to me, like, oh, you bring him specimens and you get information, but then that seems like it would be more like, oh, after you defeat an enemy you get a clue or something, you know, like that kind of
Yeah, but
feels
you already
like what he
shat
wants
on
to be.
Greta. What do you want?
I know.
There's no pleasing you, Ian.
Maybe this should have been the Greta. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I think you should just accept your murdering, Ian. It's fine. It happens to the best
Yeah.
of us.
All right.
All right. So that's back to me.
Yeah.
Let me do a good one.
Okay.
This one is just like front to back, dripping in theme, and it is such a perfect moment in just about every ensemble horror movie. And that is, of course, I'll See You in Hell.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So if you recall, I'll See You in Hell is a level 0 Guardian event. Each non-elite enemy engaged with you is defeated. You are defeated and suffer 1 physical trauma. This doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. So it's that moment where, like hell, Shaun of the Dead has a moment like that, where Nick Frost like lays his life down. Like there's just that moment where everyone's just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm the sacrificial lamb. You guys get through to the end. I'll see you in hell, motherfucker. Like just it's so perfect. Outside of Calvin, I never have the cojones to run this card.
Oh yeah.
But like
yeah.
every time I pass it up when I'm like looking through Guardian cards, like I look at it.
Yeah.
I look at it and I go, "Oh man, is this the campaign where I'm gonna have the I'll see you in hell story?" Maybe
Yeah.
throw one in.
I mean, you know what? Innsmouth is coming up.
Oh, you're not
That's-
wrong.
It's coming. It's coming for all of us. Yeah, no, that
Chris,
that that is an amazingly themed card. I remember that when that came out, and it was just, yeah, more so than the Seeker equivalent. Was it Shocking Revelation? No, that's Mandy's thing.
Yeah,
Something Revelation. Oh boy,
ghastly revelation.
Ghastly Revelation, because that's just like, oh my goodness, and then like that takes you out of the game.
Sub-Zero Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 3 clues, move them around. All right, I'm out. Yeah, like,
Yeah. The I'll
It's
see
like-
you in hell is way better, right?
and like so much more badass, right? Like, I appreciate that. Like, if you're the Clover and you're about to die somehow, well, first of all, blame your killer. They failed you.
Yeah.
I recognize that is very, very conducive to the win condition to just be like, here, take my clues. I'm gonna grab these clues, pass them to you, get out.
Yeah.
But like, I'll see you in hell is just so much more badass. Let's be real.
Totally.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Plus, like, it's a quote, right? Any of the quote cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they pop to the top of the Arkham DB sorting, so like I'm
do.
always reminded.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. All right, Scott.
Okay, I have
What's your next one?
another suite of cards that are very themed, and it is mechanically linked, and art linked, and name linked, and everything. It is the 4 desperate skills. So the desperate skills max one committed per skill test, and you can only commit them if you have 3 or fewer remaining sanity. So you're getting desperate, kind of scared, nervous. So you're really, whatever you're doing, you're really putting into it. So desperate search is the intellect one, and it's a guy fretting over books, and you get 4 intellect.
As you do.
Yeah, reckless assault, right? It's basically the precursor to I'll see you in hell. You're just going balls to the wall. Run for your life is just so perfectly named. And there's 2 guys running, and there's 4 foot icons on the side of the card, which I think is like masterwork on this one. And then say your prayers, which is you're so scared, all you've got left to do is use your willpower to ask your deity for help. So and just how they work with the you must be at 3 or fewer remaining sanity, I think just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, separate from theme, 2 thoughts. I love the fact that these all dropped in the same Mythos pack.
Yes.
Like, I know that's going to be lost on people who come behind and collect Carcosa as an entire campaign.
Yeah.
But back when we had things dropping month by month, the fact that these all dropped at once, great, fantastic, love it. Yeah, and it makes me want to play Desperate Duke.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. Desperate Duke, like one of the best decks I've ever played.
It's so fun.
Oh my god.
I almost wonder, do you think there's like a Desperate Amanda deck that might exist? Like in the thick of it to get 2 trauma and then,
I mean,
work on it from there.
Seeker has all these little allies with 2 horror soak, 1 health. So, yeah, now I'm going to make one.
All right. Well, send me that list, please.
Yep.
All right.
Add it to the list.
But yeah, like especially in Carcosa, where like your remaining sanity was already a thing of concern.
Yes.
Dropping it at that time was particularly good.
Yeah.
Like it's so perfect. Like you get these banger boosters, but only if you are actually desperate. Only if like too much failure means the end for you.
What if you actually have to run for your life from an enemy?
Right.
Make a reckless assault against an enemy. Say your prayers against a treachery. Right? Like desperately search a location. Like they fit in sentences. Yeah.
Too true. Man, this card, like, I'm just gonna say this game has been like firing on all cylinders from the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
It's kind of crazy
yeah.
to be as far in as we are and like look at Carcosa cards and be like, yeah, they did it.
Oh, Carson desperate with bestow resolve to make them wild.
Oh, shut up! That's so good.
Oh.
That's really good.
And then
I love that.
The helping hand, does that only double their skill icons?
I think it doubles all cards committed.
Oh.
Yeah. You want to like go back and re-say what you said about bestow resolve, guys?
We'll see. We'll see.
That's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to get to to desperate, but oh boy. Okay. Anyways, back to theme.
Yeah,
Back to theme.
Ian.
Yeah.
I'll pop in with a theme win here. Speaking of some theme wins from early in the game, this is a titular card. This is from a standalone. This is Curse of the Rougarou, a weakness that you get I guess spoilers, but the scenario has been out forever.
Spoilers, there's a werewolf.
Yes. And you get cursed at some point. So this goes in your threat area. At the end of your turn, if you haven't dealt any damage this turn, you take a horror. Again, this is a very simple one, but like it just gives you, if you have this, if you're the one who has the curse, it really gives you that feeling each turn of like, I really need to draw blood. Like you just
real.
You feel so compelled to just like forget
Must
everything
feed.
else and just chase after and deal damage. So yeah, it really just does what it wants to in terms of theme.
Really, really tangential rules question. Say I have Beat Cop level 2 in my deck that says deal damage to Beat Cop. I mean, I suppose you're dealing damage to an enemy as a result. Okay, say I have something in my deck that deals damage to itself for an effect. Does that satisfy the need, the cost?
What's the sorry?
Your
what-
card dealt damage, right? It's like you can draw your own blood in certain aspects, right?
Yeah, I gotta read it here. If you've not dealt any damage this turn, yeah, I guess you've dealt damage.
Or is it the game, the impersonal, omnipresent game that dealt damage, and you're just activating the ability?
If you've not dealt any damage this turn, do you deal damage to yourself? Like, is it?
I mean-
does it use the word deal? What does Beat Cop use?
I mean, yeah. What does Beat Cop say? I feel like it's deal.
Yeah, deal 1 damage. Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, I think that counts. Yeah.
Well, rounding it back to theme, blood everywhere it comes from will satisfy the thirst.
Yes.
And also, I love that all the directions you could have gone with like werewolf transformation art, we go with oh no, my pearls.
Yeah.
The true
Love
curse.
Oh no, my pearls. Amazing.
It's so good. Also, okay, I have the weakness itself is terrible, and you hate to see it because it's annoying, but it perfectly encapsulates what it goes with. But I have positive associations with it because I just love being a fucking werewolf. So yeah, it's fun. All right, Scott.
Okay, I'm going for a not really sure of the theme here, and
Sure.
I kind of think it was trying to go for a theme, and it kind of just swung and missed. Thermos. So Thermos is a neutral asset, uses 3 supplies, and you can spend a supply and exhaust it to heal 1 damage from an investigator location, 2 damage if they have 2 or more physical trauma, and you do the same thing to exhaust it, heal for a horror, or 2 if they have 2 trauma. So why does the Thermos heal more when you are more injured?
Okay.
And
here's my
how the
best
hell is a Thermos healing anything at all?
shot. Okay, well here's my best shot. So health and horror are or damage and horror rather are a little abstract. It's not necessarily physical wounds. And I don't know whatever the fuck horror is, you know. That's super abstract.
Yeah.
So a thermos requires preparation. Like you had to have made whatever goes in this thermos before you even left.
Right.
It's like soup, presumably, because that's what's in the picture. Maybe it's like coffee.
Could be.
You had to have known that you would want this later, prepared it, packed it, brought it out, paid 4 fucking resources for it, by the way.
Yeah.
And if you are really hurting, if you have like decent amount of trauma, or you are really wrecked with or physical trauma or mental trauma, that little taste of home, of familiarity, of preparation, of normalcy hits a little bit different than it would if you haven't, if you're one scenario in and you haven't seen some shit yet.
I'll give you that on the horror. I'll give you that on the mental trauma.
Mhm.
The physical part.
Okay, well, all right, paramedic. I get
No,
it. I get
no,
it.
but like just like, from a basic
no
understanding
one
of
rubbed fucking
healing.
chowder into a wound to stop the bleeding, did they?
Well, I mean, we do have shellfish stuff that we put in there, but
Oh, for real? Damn it! I shouldn't have gone with chowder. Bisque.
a seafood bisque. It's a paella. Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I guess, like, man, you're leaning into that. That is a stretch. Like,
Yeah, but I committed.
yeah, you did.
That's
You did.
all that matters.
I think you murdered it. I still don't think the card has.
I guess if you think about damage is not just like bleeding wounds, but like fatigue, that you're very tired. And if you have 2 or more physical trauma, you're very, very tired. I don't know.
You've missed 2 nights of sleep? Like, what?
Sure. And if you and it heals more because if you think about it, like if you're just like getting a bowl of soup on a regular day, that's fine. But if you have it eaten in like several days, it's probably gonna be the best soup you've ever had in your life.
Okay.
That does make a difference.
Right. All right. So if
So not maybe not murdered, maybe like maimed.
yeah,
The
scratched.
inconvenienced. Yeah, the scratched. There you
the
go.
flesh wounded.
All right, Ian, you.
Okay, I will do another theme question I have. And this is yield. I don't know why I keep saying yield today. Yield dream enhancing serum. This is another seeker card. I'm not picking on seekers, I swear. This is a asset. Only the first copy of each card in your hand counts towards your maximum hand size. After you draw a copy of a card that is already in your hand, you reveal both copies and exhaust the serum and draw another card. And then it takes up the arcane slot too, even though it's science.
How many
What
acid
is the
trips have you
serum?
gone on, Ian? Despite that being science.
On the
seems a
record
little
or
arcane.
off the record?
You can plead the fifth. It's fine. Yeah, that is interesting. What is the flavor on that? Is it like you've ventured into such like an abstracted, trippy space that you're like meditating in a way on the things that you've already experienced and played, and therefore like you've thought about it a lot, so the next one that comes along, like there's nothing left to think about?
Yeah, this is a good one, Ian.
Yeah.
It's science, but it takes up the arcane slot. Like, wow. Yeah, no, you
Got him.
Yeah.
I get what kind of science this is. Should have science with quotes around.
Science in
Is it
quotes.
okay? Like, is it literally just enjoying a trip, and your vision is doubled?
And when
So, like,
when your
when- like,
visions
when-
line up, you actually see more.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, dude, draw a card.
I kind of like that.
But how does only the first copy of each card in your hand counts towards your maximum hand size? Oh, because it's expanding your horizons, man. Opening your mind's eye.
That's right. It's just like it's totally opening your consciousness, man. Did you know that humans only use 10% of their brains, man?
Well,
You have to drill holes into it to get the other 90%.
the serum in the art is muscimol, which is apparently one of the principal psychoactive constituents of several related species of mushroom. Displays sedative, hypnotic, depressant, and hallucinogenic psychoactivity properties. So yeah, it's a trip.
Yeah. Ian summarized everything we've said in one word.
In summary. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if it's like the first copy in your hand is the dream or the vision, right? And then the second copy is when you actually like realize it in reality, and then it expands your mind. I don't know. That's drawing a card.
When the edible kicks in.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, yeah, that I had never really thought about that before. I was like, yeah, it's trippy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll shift to the last good one that I have written down. Though I have to say, Scott, you said it correctly. Like trying to come up with a list for this segment.
Yeah.
It was like, well, what card don't I pick for good? Like I just have to pick cards that I feel strongly about, I guess.
Like we're picking at straws, right? Like
Yeah.
we're finding
Yes.
like little loose threads, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or just things that tickle you in a certain way.
Yeah. Like I was
But,
like,
like-
I spent 45 minutes scrolling through cards looking for things. I'm like, what's not on theme? Like, what do I remember where I'm like, I don't get it. And I was like,
Same.
Yeah, it was difficult. So
The not on theme was far harder than picking something that was good.
yeah.
Like one would say, newspaper. So this is a classic from Dunwich originally, and then I think it got an upgrade in Carcosa. But newspaper is a survivor asset that essentially gives you +2 intellect while investigating if you have no clues. And then the upgraded version, if you have no clues, when you discover your next clue, you get to like get an extra one. So I love this. It also takes up a hand slot because, you got to read a newspaper. So I love this because like in the context of like a mystery or an investigation, if you've got nothing, you have no clues, you have no idea what's going on, where's like the first and only place you can go?
Wikipedia. Oh.
Well, I mean, it's not verified. Possibly. Like the flavor text says it so well. There's nothing in the headlines about the horrors you've witnessed, but the obituary section is disturbingly long. Like, the idea that this entirely mundane object in a very specific context holds some like good and valuable information that gives you a boost while investigating. I quite like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Like, if any of you all have ever played the Call of Cthulhu RPG, like, I feel like a lot of sessions are, if you don't know as investigators what to do, it's like, oh, let's look at the newspaper, and then the keeper will throw you a bone of like some headlines or something that have to do with where you should go next. Like, I feel like that's exactly what this is doing.
Yeah. And then the upgraded one, I guess I just assume you're a better reader. So like you get more out of it.
Or like because you had some information before you got there, you knew what to look for and you got more information when you got there. Like it kind of gave you an idea, That's why you
Sure.
had the 2
So
clues.
you're like better positioned to understand what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that. I see that.
Maybe it's a better quality of paper.
It's not as smudged.
Yeah.
Someone hasn't taken the Peanuts comic out of the back yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's black, white, and red all over. That was way more satisfying than a laugh would have been.
That old chestnut. Wow.
I mean, it is a red card. Let's be fair. That was the joke. All right, Scott, what's your next one?
Okay, so I put way more effort into finding.
Let's each do one more.
Okay.
One more go around.
Sure. So I put a lot more effort into finding not themed ones, and again, very hard.
Let's go.
This one is a rather new one. Lab coat. So it's a seeker asset It has a health and sanity, which, I mean, fine. I'm not sure how a thin piece of fabric is going to save your health, but fine clothes, whatever. Reaction. When you would fail a skill test on a secret card by 1 or less, exhaust the lab coat. You succeed by 0 instead. How is a lab coat making you succeed where you would fail?
Interesting.
When you're, I don't know, using your fingerprint kit or something. What is that coat doing?
So maybe the lab coat doesn't necessarily represent the garment itself, even though it has both the item and the clothing traits. Let's just forget that for a moment.
Okay.
But instead, maybe the lab coat represents a symbol of the learned practice of good laboratory procedure. So where someone else clumsily might have failed, because you are adhering to like the best practices of lab procedure, you in fact succeed.
Okay. I could
Just again, ignore the item and clothing traits, please.
Yeah. Just focus on the science trait.
Yes.
Yeah.
Science is the important one.
Okay. I see Teacup in chat also says notes in your pocket.
That's not bad either.
Yeah. Also, Sean is way too good of a bullshitter for this.
That's
Yeah.
also true.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, okay, I'll accept that. Yeah.
The only thing is here is this flavor text is like undermining everything.
The flavor text ruined Sean's point.
no.
Yes.
Oh no.
It says it makes you feel like you know what you're doing, even when you're in way over your head.
Oh no. Well, okay, no, but okay, like to
This
defend
is fake
to
it till
defend
you make it, the card.
No, to defend it, like if you just found like alien flesh and you're like, what the fuck do I even do with this? But then you're like, okay, disinfect, keep it in separate, like keep the agar plates separated, like and you go back into whatever technique you learned, like it makes you feel like everything's fine and you know what you're doing. Stretching thin.
The
scratched. The scratched.
I don't think I've ever worn a lab coat. Maybe I have back in college or something. Would it make me do better science if I put on a lab coat?
I mean, I don't know if you're allowed.
It would
in the
make
lab
everyone.
it. So
I was about to say, it would make everyone around you think that you're doing better science.
yeah.
And maybe that's what really counts.
Maybe the real coats was the science along the way, or something. I don't know. Maybe the real science was the coats we wore along the way. There we go.
Indeed. All right, Ian, what's your last one?
Oh, I don't know which one to end it on. I think the one I will end it on that I really like the theme of it is a card that actually featured in our much loved musical episode, and maybe that's why I like this one. Astral Travel. So this is a mystic event. You can move to any reveal location, but you have to reveal a token from the bag, and if it's a bad stuff token, you have to discard an item or ally asset you control. So I just love the idea. Obviously, the like bamfing to anywhere it's just like straightforward, but the part that I really like is that the travel can go wrong, and you can like leave an item behind or even a person behind potentially, and lose them.
We've arrived straight at the gates of Carcosa. Where's Milan?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, no, that one is a thematic win for sure. So much we built a skit around it. Yeah. Fun fact, when I was drawing the token for the sound effect for drawing the token for that card in the thing, I drew tentacle.
Actually drew a tentacle.
Yeah.
Nice. I remember you texted us like in that moment, and I was like, no, stop.
It was great. Yeah, that's a flavor win.
I love the flavor. Also, Nick, Duke, if you've made it this far into the episode, I would give my kingdom for an upgraded version that lets me bring other investigators with me. Thank you. Please and thank you.
But then you can potentially lose one of the investigators. Oops.
Everyone draws. If they draw the tentacle, they are driven insane.
No.
Or they're just eliminated for that. Oh man, that could break some stuff.
You know, I mean, I'm sure they would they would work out the kinks. Just
I'm
you
sure.
know, upgraded
Yeah.
version. It'd be awesome. But yeah, like despite how I think it is maybe a little expensive to get wide play, I love that card mechanically. And like the art is so perfect too. Just that dude just like trotting through the gate with his cane and his smile.
Toodaloo.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, where's Milan?
It's the Arkham Horror version of Mary Poppins.
Pip pip there, Mary Poppins.
All right, Sean, bring us home.
Oh, I feel bad because I went through all my good ones first, and now I'm gonna end it on like a confused one.
Give us the
Let me
biggest steaming pile of confusion you have.
Oh no. Okay, all right. So let me just say first before we dive into this,
Yeah.
I think this game is wonderfully themed, and the majority of cards are amazing and very well designed mechanically and
vast
thematically.
majority.
Guys, I have a classic asset, a classet, if you will, and I have an investigator. Which one would you like to hear?
Oh,
That's spicy.
I want to hear both. If you're that like, well, which
I
one?
mean,
Which one do you think is the most egregious?
egregious? I mean, I imagine the investigator will piss off more people if that's what you mean.
Okay, let's go with the asset.
Well, that's always fun.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Okay.
investigator, but you know.
I think Ian might have been most offended.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay, no, the investigator then.
That changes everything.
All right. You know what? We'll do both since we've gone this way with it. Well, I'll be kind of fairly quick. So we'll go with the investigator first.
Okay.
So I want to be clear. I like this investigator. Very fun. Enjoy it and everything. But I've never really understood the ability and how it connects to the investigator themselves. It like, all right, it's Monterey Jack. So I get that mechanically they wanted to design this rogue as like, I move around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that would make sense for like an Ursula from a thematic standpoint, where like, yeah, she wants to explore. She's the explorer. She moves around a lot. But Jack is the archaeologist, which is kind of a pursuit of knowledge, kind of I wouldn't necessarily peg archaeologists outside of like travel to specific locations as being people that like move a lot. They kind of like, if I'm being real to what my knowledge of real world archaeology is, you kind of like stay in the same spot for a while. So I never really understood why the archaeologist Monterey Jack received a bonus for moving, and a particularly big bonus for moving a lot.
Well, I think Tika and Vinny in chat. I mean, Tika's like, but Indiana Jones, valid point. And then
Yeah, I
Vinny
mean, sure.
also noted he's a rogue archaeologist.
That is fair.
Yeah, he's an archaeologist in the same way that Indiana Jones is an archaeologist.
Yeah.
They spend way more time moving around and running and getting into danger than actually like
Fucking with
painstakingly
Nazis.
digging artifacts up.
And
Yeah.
maybe he hasn't found the dig site yet. He is looking for the dig site. Yeah.
Interesting. So I would actually be curious to know, like, in actual archaeology, is the discovery of a site of study, like, what percentage of the process is that? I don't expect anyone to answer, but
I would assume it's pretty big, but
yeah, you think so? You think the archaeologists themselves do that, or like, do they get leads from locals who like stumble upon a thing?
I know they work with anthropologists.
I don't think anthropology really existed in 1920.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's possible. When did Maslow? When was Maslow knocking around? He was like late 1800s.
No, he was later. He was 1900s, wasn't he?
Was he?
Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That guy.
Yeah. Like that's pretty foundational to the humanities, right?
Is he that old?
Anyway, we're going down a weird tangent here. Anyway, yeah. So I get it, and I enjoy playing Jack. Don't get me wrong. He's the Green Goblin. He's a
1943,
monster.
Sean. 1943.
43?
Yeah. He's modern.
God damn. Okay. All right. Well, see. All right. Well, that just further proves my point.
Yeah.
Humanities weren't quite there yet.
All right.
All right, Ian, are we still friends?
We are. It could have been much worse.
Okay.
Also, I'll throw in young Jack traveled around the world with his father's archaeological expeditions. Now a globe-trotting treasure hunter and an accomplished archaeologist. So that's from the back of his card.
Okay. Treasure hunter and archaeologist. Okay, that's fair.
Globe-trotting treasure hunter.
Globe trotting.
Yeah, he's trotting around.
Yeah, but he's not like outside of TSK. He's never trotting around.
He's
the
got
globe.
the trots. He's making his way.
He doesn't sit still.
Yeah. He's got one willpower. He can't. He's just like, I gotta go do
Yeah.
this.
He needs to see more and more.
He's
The
got that
same old,
twitching
same
leg.
old. Yeah. Searching
All right.
for
He's the one that
knowledge.
rocks the whole desk.
What's the asset?
All right, so the asset that I'm kind of confused on. Again, think it's a great card in certain circumstances, but I never understood police badge thematically. So police badge, guardian asset, level 2, 3 cost. You get +1 willpower. All right, whatever. Like, I'm gonna leave all leftist commentary out of this for everyone else's sake.
Yeah.
I make no promises.
and then free triggered action while an investigator at your location is taking his or her turn, discard police badge. That investigator takes 2 additional actions this turn, accessory slot. So like,
yeah, go ahead.
I think the idea is that like you flash your badge and thus are able to do more things, which would make sense if we were playing like Civil Unrest, the living card game. But we're up against like monsters and cultists. They don't give 2 shits whether or not you're deputized, son. Why is this giving you extra actions?
Well,
This is a tough one.
I feel like those extra actions, like I think it is you flash the badge and you can move through a crowd or you can hijack someone's vehicle or something like that. And even though those extra 2 actions might be like, I don't know, shooting a gun. Well, no, that makes sense. Swinging a machete, I guess, or like fighting a tentacle monster. Maybe those 2 actions were actually done earlier where you flashed your badge and bought a weapon, or I don't know, moved through. Yeah, it's...
Do you think that possibly the ability convolutes time a little bit?
Yeah, maybe. And I think the willpower might just be confidence.
I was going to ask about the willpower. Is it... I mean, look, of all the things that make sense,
Yeah.
+1 willpower to a police badge, like I get that. Like that it puffs you up and
Yeah.
makes you feel a little bit more
Yeah.
mentally robust, I guess.
This was one I was considering putting on my list, and I was like, oh, wait, no, that's kind of themey. And then I just passed it. So...
Guys, the willpower's power tripping, let's be real. Yeah, that's essentially the same thing, right?
Yep.
Shouldn't it be +1 combat?
Much.
And yeah.
Yeah, this is I don't think I get the murder. The only thing I was thinking about is like somehow like the reason you discard your police badge is you're kind of like blowing your cover. Like you have the badge to get in an advantageous position, but then you kind of like, expose that you're not really police. I guess in
Yeah.
the case of Tommy, you are really pleased. But for everyone else, it's like, I don't know. I still don't know exactly why it gives you actions like in the face of monsters, like you said, Sean. But
Maybe you throw the badge past them and it's so shiny and glinty that they look at it, and so you, like you said, get in an advantageous position there. And it's like you have 2 extra actions worth of stuff you can do because they turn their back.
The police badge is like a shuriken, just like
Well, no, it's just like it's more of a distraction, like a like a pop can.
interesting. Well, I mean, I'd believe that over the idea that like Bayakis give a shit about jurisdiction.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's that.
okay, here's what it is. Like those extra actions aren't stuff you're actually doing, but you're actually like using the badge to like get the local force to do whatever those actions are for you. But then you can only pull that off for so long, so the police badge goes away.
Interesting. So it's like your extreme solicitation of authority.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a terrible argument.
Nailed it.
THEMURDER.
A bit of a stretch.
No, that was a
yeah.
was a themassacre. All right. Well, sorry to end it on a confused note. This game's great. It's very themey. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
The design as a whole is fantastic.
It's even fun trying to find those ones where it's like not super themey, and then someone's like, "No, it's more like this." And you're like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it's called THEMURDER. Like, it's more fun to be in the audience, be like, "Oh, which one can we figure out?"
yeah," just
I'm
to
sure
ruin the other person's day.
That's right. That's right.
I
don't care about finding the theme.
Revisit this at some point.
I don't want to figure out the theme. I just want to make sure you're wrong. You know?
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
important part.
Well, it's not called The Man Hug, Scott. So,
Well,
It could be.
I mean, okay, you don't have to convince me.
don't tell them the title of BusterCon yet.
I know. Spoilers.
Speaking of tentacle time.
that's the subtitle of Buster
Okay,
Con.
no, like don't blow past that. That's a decent subtitle for a con, to be fair.
The man hug.
The man hug, because like you can kind of like say like the they kind of generalizes the gender, but then it's still like the energy of a man hug. So
Man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
Chop it.
tentacle time.
Yeah.
Scott, how about what you got going on? What's grabbing you?
I finally got a hold of and got to play this fun little dice and card board game. It is a 1 to 4 player co-op. It is called Set a Watch. Ian, have you played it? It feels like a game you've played.
I have not. I've heard of it, but I haven't tried it.
Sean, have you?
I have not. What's the deal with it?
So basically, you are 4 heroes, and you have to travel through 9 locations, fighting people along the way. But each turn,
Heroes in what type of setting? Are we talking
high
like
fantasy, like D&D,
Okay.
basically.
Got it.
Think D&D.
Yeah.
And you have to go through these 9 locations, and basically there's enemies coming off this deck, and they line up in a line. And every turn, before you go to the combat part, you have to choose someone to tend to the camp, and they have a camp board, and then the other people go set a watch, and they're the ones that are actually doing the fighting, because those bad people come, or like whatever the things are. There's forest animals and undead and whatnot. So one person is completely out of the fight for that round, but they get to do some other things that affect the game and heal things and stuff like that. But the key is that each character must go to camp twice in the game. So you can't just keep on saying the same person. So like your big fighter has to chop firewood twice per game. And then in the 9th round, you're all at the final location, so no one has to go to camp and whatever. But the way you do it is each character has different powers, which are on little mini cards. There's 5 of them. You get 3 to start, and they're double-sided. And one is the injured side, and one is the upright side. And then each character also has dice, but it's different dice. So you might have D4s, D6s, D8s, or D12s. And that's how, like, you can use them to fight the enemies, but you can also put the dice on your powers to activate it to do powers that also fight the enemies. It's just, it's so good. I'm probably just absolutely butchering it as far as an explanation goes. But
I mean, it sounds interesting. Like, what are your abilities driven by? Do you have like a deck? Do you have ability cards? Like, is there variation between games? Is it just
you have 3 ability cards on your character, but you have a total of 5. So when you go to camp, you can actually switch one out if you choose to do that camp action. You can do 3.
So there's variability like within the game. Mm-hmm. It's like a single game.
Yeah. And then the location cards, like it's a stack of locations, and you choose 8. Well, you randomly deal 8, and then you shuffle in a bunch of good location cards in the remaining ones. And then when you're at camp, that person can spend a die to read the map, which means you take one off your traveling deck, the top card, and the leftover locations, and you pick which location you want to go to next. Otherwise, you're just traveling blind into the path. So, and there's
like base camp, scrying the exploration deck, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's a blast. If at the end of each round there's enemies left over, they hit you and hurt you, and then they go into this pile called the Horde, and that means those enemies in the last location, they show up again, and you have to fight them as well as all the enemies that show up in the last camp or in the last location. So if you don't do well, and there's ways to, like, you either have to do this bad thing or put a random enemy face down into the Horde.
Oh, no.
And it's like,
sounds very Arkham.
Yeah, it is. It's very much survival, and it's I've been playing like just on normal difficulty, and I'm at like a 50% win rate. Like, it is not an easy one. Like, you can get absolutely bodied in this game. Yeah, it's been so much fun. You can do up to 4-player co-op, but you always play 4 heroes, whether there's 1 player or 4 players, or 2 or 3. But I found it is
that's good. Like, at least the balance is consistent.
Yeah.
Right?
Thing is, there's so many things going on with so many powers. Like, I can't see a 4-player game going well, quite honestly, because
interesting.
you have to combine the powers of all the heroes and stuff like that, and dice and whatnot, like, to keep it all
so you
in
have
your
to be
mind.
like a hyper coordinated.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I've played it 2-player, and that kind of works if you're sitting like next to the person and you're both like looking at it as if you're, it's you and me controlling the party.
Yes.
Like, it's not my dudes and your dudes, it's our dude. So
Communism, the game.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's super fun. There's Set a Watch, and then there's Swords of the Coin, which is like the expansion, which is also a standalone game. And then the 3rd set is on Kickstarter right now, and it's also a standalone game. And then there's also a campaign box that's coming out in the same Kickstarter, and that's going to be the finale. But it's like a whole campaign thing that involves all 3 games. It's so good.
Cool.
Yeah, Set a Watch. Check it out, and then talk to me about it.
Yeah. Ian, how about you?
I don't have anything too crazy. Just been watching a little unknown show called The Last of Us lately.
I'm up to episode 3.
You're on episode 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you play the video game? For context.
I played the first like couple of hours or so.
Okay.
I got to like the first big stealth section with clickers and got really frustrated and stopped playing, and haven't gone back to it. Which is mostly my fault for being garbage at video game stealth sections.
Well,
usually.
it's not an uncommon story. Like, if there's anywhere you're going to bounce off of that game, that's where it is.
Yeah. So I'm kind of familiar with the very beginning of it and the general. But yeah, I've been watching. I'm pretty much up to date, other than they dropped a new episode while we've been recording today. But yeah, they released it early because there's some football game on Sunday, the Super Bowl.
Oh, is the Super Bowl this weekend?
Yeah, so they moved the episode release to today, so it came out today.
The Superb Owl.
Yeah,
Well, that was Well, that was smart of them.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm as a kind of weird like part video game knowledge, but mostly not. I've just been enjoying it as a show on its own, and yeah, it's been really good. It had good word of mouth initially, but it's kind of lived up to it. And even though I know like the creators are always like painstakingly saying it's not a zombie show, like it's essentially a zombie story, right? Just in a different form. And
That's
so,
the most pretentious shit I ever heard.
Yeah,
Of course it's a zombie show.
It is like, and it plays on all those tropes and it does all those things. And like a lot of people, I was kind of had my fill of zombie media for a lifetime, but The Last
of Us is really good, bro.
Yeah, the show just happens to just hit everything right to kind of make you forget that fatigue and just be like, oh, there's actually still some juice in this. There's still some juice for the squeeze.
Yeah. It focuses so much on the main characters as opposed to like a big ensemble like so many zombie shows do. I mean, I guess I'm just looking at The Walking Dead primarily here, but yeah, like when that show was announced, because I was a huge fan of the original game. Like I've been a Naughty Dog fan, since Uncharted, I guess. But I definitely played The Last of Us when it first came out. Really enjoyed it. When that show got announced, I was the first person to be like, why the fuck does this show need to exist? What are y'all doing? The game is so cinematic. If you want to experience it, just go watch a playthrough. Like, why does this even need to exist? I'm happy to eat my words because while the first 2 episodes were very, very faithful, 3rd episode still faithful, took some liberties, but good liberties. Like it's a good adaptation of the game. Pedro Pascal, fantastic.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'll pretty much watch anything he's in. So
yeah. like dude's just hitting it hard with good taste for projects right now.
Yeah.
So he's great. Like the casting's great. The cinematography's great. Like just everything about it is actually very, very well constructed. And the show follows the game to a T where that works, and it diverges where it doesn't. And like, what more could you ask for of an adaptation? So I'm only 3 episodes in, but I'm like super enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
Which episode dropped tonight? What are we up to? 5 or 6?
Episode 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, because I've watched 4 so far, I believe. Yeah, so this
okay.
5. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm gonna get caught up like literally tomorrow, because I was kind of in a state of protest to watch this show because again I was just being like a hipster asshole and was like, why does this need to exist? I didn't watch it right away. We got 3 or 4 episodes in before I was finally like, fine. And yeah, again, eating crow over here. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of felt similarly, although I had the thing of like, well, I never finished the game, so this is my way of like kind of watching the story, I guess. But in like, at least in abstract terms, I was like, this is dumb. Like, there's no point in making like video game adaptations of like cinematic games, like you said, because if it's already like, because a lot of there's certain games that are just meant to kind of like represent
where you feel like you're in the thick
movie.
of it.
Like, and I feel like the Naughty Dog games, like Uncharted, is like, oh, let me play like a adventure movie,
Yep.
And like Last of Us is like, let me play a zombie movie. So it's basically like taking those movies we already have and like rendering them in video game form. So then it's like, then you're gonna back translate it to like a show or a movie. That doesn't make any sense. But as it turns out, it does make sense. So.
I mean, when you do it well, it's good, and I'm very, very happy that this one got put into good hands.
Yeah,
I think any of us nerds who have clung to our properties that we enjoy in other mediums have good reason to be wary when they get picked up by TV and TV or TV and movies.
I think it helps when like one of the key like creators of the game is part of the creative team for the show, which doesn't tend to happen with these kind of adaptations. Usually they just kind of shift it over to like some,
like they already have a
TV
team,
creative or whatever. Yeah, and like they just kind of adapt it. But yeah. So now we just need the Mass Effect TV show, right?
Shut up. No. Yes, but no. Like that's one. They'd have to put so much money into that show for it to be good.
That would be like a big budget show.
And also, you'd like upset half the internet if you made Shepard canonically male or female.
This is true.
Like, I'd be fine with it whichever way they went, but still.
I still want to see it though.
I agree with you.
Well, do I? What if it's terrible? I don't know.
There we go. There's that defense mechanism I was waiting for. All right. Then I suppose for my part, Ian, this crosses over with you as well. So I know I mentioned a while ago. I've had this like weird Marvel jonesing. So like many of you, I'm sure, just enjoying a movie or reading a book often is not enough. If I'm feeling a property, I kind of have to dive into it and like play a game, in particular a video or a card game that's based in that universe, and just kind of like really kind of get my hands around it, right? Like, you ever have that where you'll watch Lord of the Rings and be like, fuck, let me play one of the Lord of the Rings games I have later today, because that's just where my head's at.
For sure.
Well, I've had that happen with Marvel. It's not like Marvel ever went away from the zeitgeist, but just, between Snap, which is fantastic and kind of reminding me of a bunch of characters that I haven't thought about in a while from time to time. I have kind of been in this place of really wanting something Marvel. So I've been going through the X-Men Legends and Ultimate Alliance games, which I was big fans of. So they're basically like Diablo type dungeon crawlers, where instead of a fantasy character, you're controlling a team of Marvel characters or X-Men. And they all have their own, it's an RPG, so they all have their own powers. And like, depending on which game you're playing, you can choose different sets of powers and specs and build the characters differently and yada, yada. So that's been good. I've played those games a lot though. So there was something kind of missing of just like diving into a new experience that was kind of, new. So I got all the way through Ultimate Alliance 1. So I'm 3 games into this playthrough of this series, and I'm still not quite scratching the itch. Like, I'm having a good time. I'm into Ultimate Alliance 2, which is ultimately my favorite game of that series. And then a certain game drops, and Ian talks about it on a certain tentacle time of a certain podcast, and that's Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
And that was on my radar anyway, but I haven't played any of the XCOM games. I'm in line with them in theory. I don't have any actual experience to draw me into it. But then when you started talking about it on that episode, it's just like, man, like I knew all this, but to think like, okay, so it's an original Marvel story, and it's based on some shit, but it's like its own delivery of it. Multiple cool characters. Lots of costume customization.
Yep.
BioWare level like companion conversations and like Fire Emblem-esque relationship development that feeds into like mechanical shit. And then on top of that, the combat is you choose a team of heroes, and like those 3 heroes assemble a Keyforge like deck of 3 heroes to create a card, like a tactics turn-based card game RPG. Super, like, it's just like so many buzzwords that just like,
What is the name of this one?
it's called Marvel Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns, yeah.
I think you'd like it, Scott.
I think so.
That's why I'm asking. Sorry, what was the title?
Midnight Suns.
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I picked it up. It was on sale. And I started it, and oh man, like it's everything I was hoping it would be. Like there's a little bit of wonkiness in the engine, a little bit. Like it doesn't feel like an action game when you're in the Abbey and like the social area. So like it doesn't necessarily feel like the most modern game in every regard. But the combat's fun. Like most of the missions I play really kind of go to the wire. I've yet to fail one. I was really fucking close on a recent one, and I was super salty about it because I got absolutely fucked by the RNG. But hey, that's card games, right? And it scratched exactly the itch that I have been trying to scratch with all of these Legends and Ultimate Alliance games that I've been playing that I had already played. So put probably close to like 15 hours into that, and then the Deadpool DLC dropped. And then I was like, oh, there's DLC, right? Because I bought it on sale with the season pass. And I went out and looked at the DLC. And the DLC that's planned was Deadpool, Morbius, Venom, and Storm.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no, my original waifu is getting released as DLC. So basically I have the game on freeze. I'm loving it, super excited to dive in, but I'm not going to touch it again until Storm comes out because I want to play as much of that game as I can with Storm as an option, because that's just how I do. So it's a very, very difficult exercise in delayed gratification right now because it's still installed on my PS5 and I really want to play it. I'm really, really hoping that Storm is the next DLC and she drops within like 2 or 3 months, but I have no idea. So we'll see. But that is the kind of game I see myself spending a lot of time with, possibly, depending on how much player choice and build variety there is in progression. I might do multiple playthroughs. But like, oh God, you were talking, Ian, about like the level of costume customization, and oh no, it's bad for me. It's really bad for me, because not only can you choose from the heroes' costumes from multiple different options, and they're all like based on like loot box drops and shit. There's like crafting and stuff too. There's so many systems in the game. I'm still trying to get my head around it. But then on top of that, there's both superhero and like casual clothes. And then with the casual clothes, and you can do this with the superhero ones too, but I find myself less inclined to do it there. But you can have them, each hero and each companion hero, randomly choose a different outfit every day of the game, because the game progresses in days. You do like a day, evening, night progression. So you can have like every hero show up in like fucking a different outfit every day, and I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. I don't know if the like cosmetic currency speeds up a bit, at least the level that you get it at. I hope so. It's slowing me down at the moment. Like in the early stages of the game where I'm at now, I don't spend lightly. So yeah, but yeah, that's a rabbit hole I'm very, very excited to fall back in once Storm releases.
I knew that would tickle you.
It's so good. It's like I don't know if you could construct. Maybe if it were a Star War,
a Star War.
That's the only. I'm trying to think of like a game you could construct and describe to me in keywords that would be more perfect than this game, and that's all I have. So anyway, Midnight Suns, really enjoying it. Or I was really enjoying it, and I hope sometime in the hopefully near future to be enjoying it again. But yeah,
you are loyal to your Storm.
I when you pick a waifu, you stick with her.
This is true.
That's just how I am. That's how I roll. Anyway, so really fun. Scott, if you dive into it, let me know. I'd be curious to have your thoughts as well.
I'm watching a couple, I'm just looking at like gameplay right now. It's looking interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's all about positioning and like comboing both damage, moving, and deck manipulation within your turn. And like the secret sauce of it all just combines so well. I'm really digging it. I'll be interested to see how wide like the pool of abilities is for each character, each hero. I don't know like what the variety looks like at this point. I've only really seen the starting cards and a few extras, so
Yeah.
yeah.
The only thing it's missing though is spaceships.
Yes. There's fewer like astro aeronautics in this game.
Yeah.
So far as I'm aware.
Because that game's only 13 days away, so I don't know if I'm gonna have time for this one.
Well, depending on how long the Storm DLC stretches out, we might be picking it up at the same time.
yeah, fair.
Scott also wants a Star War.
I would also go for a Star War. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us tonight. Thank you all for joining us for, this was 148, right?
Yes.
I'm a hope. Yeah. All right. Cool. Good memory. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.